This is episode 79 of Cowboy Shit. I'm Ted. This is Wacy.
Wacy, what's up?
This is Mr. James Foley. For those
How's
we
it
were
going?
just discussing, and for those watching this part of the show, this is our official Zoom introduction of our. I guess do we call him a third co-host or guest co-host? What's his?
He's a
term?
guest co-host.
Guest
He's not.
co-host.
He couldn't be the third co-host because he's only been on like 3 shows.
Yeah, he helped us interview. He was part of the
Lockwood.
show. Yeah, with episode 53 with the two-time world champ Jess Lockwood.
He's the guy who JOs the Bulls. That's a memorable conversation.
That was from back in October, wasn't it? When we were up there, didn't we record?
Well, and I guess something like so. Foley's actually starting to transition out of the bull industry. Talk about that a little bit. Like your new beginnings. You want to do a bit of more experience on the lifestyle side of things.
Well, I guess I could be honest, right? That's what the whole platform is about.
That's what it's here for, man.
Got to be honest.
So, this year, I think, everybody in the Western lifestyle world kind of experienced COVID a little bit differently. And it was kind of your option, if there's guys holding jackpots at their houses and a certain group of guys kind of going here and there and so be it. So I waited things around. I continued to have my job. I'm very thankful for that. I stayed employed right through the summer. Was able to take, some time off during the summer and kind of appreciate things that maybe I haven't for quite a while. And it was funny that we were talking to Brandon in the interview about it. But, I just kind of figured, is this something that I want to deal with all the time, the politics and I'm a guy that shoots from the hip. If I feel something, I'm going to say it. If I think something, I'm going to say it. And I'm willing to fight, for what I think is right. And some actions and some things from last year kind of carried over and I decided that I wasn't gonna, I feel like my Bulls have proven themselves to be just as good as anybody else's in Canada. Now, I'm not saying that I have as many as everybody else in Canada, but I feel like my quality of Bulls are there. And for me personally, it's tougher to me to get into a Monster Canada event than it is for me to call Cody Lambert and ask him to have 4 Bulls go to a Monster Energy event down there. So I just kind of thinking about it, and I said, you know what, I maybe had a bad week there, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Everything's for sale. What sells. I'm sending my good ones down south. I'm not dealing with the politics anymore. Not the best time to sell. Found that out real quick. So I still have 40 cows at home. I'm down to, I think, 25 bulls. Firebeats is down at KBRC right now. I still own him, but he's down with Kenny and their family. I got some bulls down with Justin Cox, some top tier bulls of mine that are down there that I'm trying to sell. I sold 2 to Kenny and put Firebeats on the bus with him. So, to say I'm totally out isn't true, but if somebody came tomorrow and said, James, I'm going to offer you this for everything you have, I definitely contemplate getting rid of it. And, I want to kind of need to experience some other things. But like I said, as long as I have my cows, I'm not going to give them away for free. I'm not going to can them. I'm not that type of person to just be like, I'm done with these things. It's probably why I shouldn't own animals, is because maybe I have too much of a heart for the fucking things. But, I'm not broke, if that's what people heard or whatever. I lost a little bit of
Your focus has shifted.
Yeah, focus has shifted, but maybe I lost a little bit of the spark to it. I got I got sour. I thought the PBR Canada finals could have been held maybe a little bit differently, whatever, it's my opinion. But like I said, I'm not fucking digging into my own pocket to do shit, and I'm not taking away my beliefs in order to fit into a niche to get bulls bucked. I ain't gonna do it. It's not gonna fucking change. It's the way it is. And if I don't get bulls bucked, then too bad. So it is what it is. I'm just freestyling it right now.
Dropping into Verdansk. Spent some hours in.
Definitely.
How far into all this stuff do you want to get? Like we're in November. It's the last. This show's gonna come out on Wednesday. It's Sunday right now. We're still in November. It's the end of November. Men's mental health. Like maybe we should check in with everybody right now. Waste, how's things been? You had a pretty last little go. Really.
Things are better now that I'm able to like start getting out of the house and get back to whatever a normal routine is now for COVID for me. I guess it sucks that we don't have hockey or stuff that way, but was able to go skiing last Friday and just being able to like leave my apartment and go for a dinner or whatever. It's nice that where you're not restricted to being into your own space for so long. So definitely things are going well. It's a bit of a grind now. I'm getting into the last week and a half of my semester for school. So gonna have to buckle down and get some dial in for finals here. So, but other than that, like it's been a good last week and a half, couple weeks compared to the whole COVID thing. That was no fun, guaranteed. 10 out of 10 don't recommend as I did before.
James, how about you? Like you had a pretty crazy summer, really. It's hasn't been an easy one for you overall.
Yeah, man, it's been a whirlwind for me. Like I said, with with my Bulls and everything, work wise, it was looking to be like back to the old ways. Bulls were going to be super busy. I had some big plans. I purchased a big breed bull that I spent a lot of money on in December when things were going good, and come March 15th, it just kind of went from up here to down here. And like I said, I adjusted my life. I haven't really talked publicly about this, so I'll break it down here on the podcast. I proposed to my, at the time, girlfriend, who I'd been with, on and off, I guess, for roughly 10 years. Everything was good to go, and 4 days later she gave me back the ring and said that she had anxiety and just wasn't for her. So there was 2 weeks there, man. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything for anybody. Like I said, I'm the type of guy, I say it how it is, and I was in a pretty dark space, and I resorted back to my parents and close group. Teddy, you came over to my house and we had to talk about it, but for a week there, I just kind of kept everything inside, and I was more embarrassed, I think. And I don't drink that much, which is probably like, one thing that really helped me out is, I didn't resort to alcohol or resort to, something to cover up how I was feeling. But, my parents were there with me, my good friends, I made sure to talk to everybody, and if I was feeling some way, I definitely talked it out instead of keeping it all in. So I haven't told many people that. There's still a little part of me that's maybe a little embarrassed about it, but like I said, the more I think about it, I shouldn't say I asked her to marry me. I'm more asked her to spend, the rest of our lives together. I'm not a guy big on marriage or anything like that, but, it didn't happen. It isn't going to happen. It's one of those things. And now we just keep moving forward.
Yeah, we have to. And it's shitty. It's fucking life, right? But I mean, we can dwell on it, I guess, or we can move along and go on to the next thing, like you said.
Well, and then you touched on it too. Like, it's good. You're lucky to have a good support group around. Like, you have your family and your close friends, and it really, even for me, like going through tough times, like having that kind of people you can lean on instead of like feeling like you're alone in that scenario, it's so much more helpful. And it leads to positive things too. Like you and I have talked fully too. Like things you want to do, travel and do all those kind of different things. So it kind of makes you realize and opens a few more doors to maybe like hey, like maybe I can try this, like try some new things, as opposed to just dwelling on the negative. And that sort of thing too. How about 100%. You, Teddy? How are you doing, pal?
James, you had something to say first.
Well, and the more I thought about it, like, travel, when it had happened or whatever, you know what I mean? You get, you're in a shitty spot, you get shitty thoughts, and I have my dog Ruby, who's with me 24 hours a day. She almost turned into like a service dog for me where, I was having a bad day and I'd just look at her and be like, Ruby, like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, come on, you know what I mean? And Ruby has no idea. It's just brr, 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 brr to her. But she'd look at me, her tail would start wagging, and she'd come over, and you know what I mean? It was like, dude, you know, this is what I need right here. I just need to talk to you, Ruby. I don't give a shit. I'll give you a treat after, but we need to have a talk right now. But, you know, at that time, you know, Travis James had went through his stuff. You know, I heard the rumors of what happened and yada, yada, yada. And you know, it goes back through a guy's brain. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it really makes you figure out, you know, where you're at right here, but all the things that make you so you should be at here. If that makes sense to anybody, you know, you really take for granted the people that are in your life and the people that are willing to help you out. And it kind of just brought it all back to me, and definitely, you know what I mean? It's something that, you know, it's still pretty soft to me or whatever. But like I said, it's going to help me grow as a person, and things happen for a reason. I'm a believer in that. And like I said, I just move on. And like I said, I talked to Teddy, he came over to the house and we had a good bullshit about it. But yeah, Teddy, how are things looking for you?
Yeah, we've been all right. I don't know. It's been hard. It's been a really fucking hard time lately. We had our dog was pretty sick for a while. That beat me up pretty bad and cost a bunch of money. But what do you do, right? They're kind of part of your family, right? So that's been tough. But I mean, I think back more to, and kind of what you said, what I think you were partially alluding to it with the different spots of where we are and where we should be or could be. Like, I'm incredibly thankful and you know, very, I guess the word now, which I don't know how to use it correctly, but like, we're very, what's the word? Like, we're very privileged. Like, everything the three of us, we've grown up with, like, we're extremely privileged. We have, you know, we have a roof over our heads. We got food and water. Like, we're extremely privileged. So sometimes I think that I'm having a tough time, you know, lost all these events we're going to and whatnot. And this year we've changed it up and done a lot of the merch stuff instead. And I don't know, I've been feeling anxious a lot lately too. And I don't know if that's because of such a change in the schedule. I had a really tough time with the time change this year. I don't know why it was so tough, but it, like, as soon as the sun started going down at 5 hours, freaking,
it sucks,
bad time. Yeah.
It sucks so bad.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it for me, anyways, it like stems to like the uncertainty. Like, you can't even plan your life hardly a month out right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, for me, like, I'm graduating university soon. It's an exciting time to be finishing that chapter of my life. But when it comes to finding work, like, it's terrifying, man. Like, I'm competing against guys who have MBAs and 20 years experience in the industries that I'm applying for. I'm trying to compete against them. Like, I don't have any chance. Like, there was like an entry level, like, marketing director job, like, just kind of like an internship almost. And they had people with like 2 MBAs and 10 years experience applying for it. Like, where do I fit in that thing? It's like, it's a scary landscape for sure.
Put me as a reference, Wasey. We'll get you that job.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, guys. I guess biggest thing, you know, the Movember campaign talks about men's suicide. You know, we lost Ty Posbon, was one guy we know we lost in the sport from CTE, which, you know, ended up being, I want to say, like, the side effects of CTE end up being depression and anxiety and numerous other pieces, but he's the only one that we know for sure. But how many other people have we lost over the years in the Western lifestyle? Our friends, people we know, have lost to suicide. The first one I remember about was a guy named Rod Wilson from back in Drayton Valley. We ended up putting on an event for him for like 7 or 8 years, and he did it. He took his own life when he was 25. So, I mean, you know, we're all past that age at this point, but it's not, you know, men are more likely to take their own lives. That it's, what is it, 3 or 4 times more likely, Waste? What's the stat?
I think it is 3 times more likely. Well, then there's that stat they share too. It's like the 60 men per hour or something like that lose their. It's
like one per minute or something worldwide. Yeah, it's something insane.
Yeah, I have to look at the numbers, but yeah.
And even worse right now with the pandemic and what's going on. Things might seem a little bleak for some folks. So we just want to say
and
again,
even at the very least, if anything, like this, if this sparks a conversation, like if you're feeling down, like reach out to somebody, like just talk. Like I know for me, that's been a big help over the years, is just being able, like, and I know it's easy to sit here and say like just talk about it, but like I've actually been through it and then done it, and if you can just reach out to a buddy you're close with and just have a talk, like, hey man, like this is how I'm feeling. Like it'd be such a big like relief, because like a lot of the time for stuff like this, it's like you think that you're the only person going through it. Mm-hmm. But in reality, like a lot of people are going through a lot of the same things, and people can relate to you, and it can kind of be a thing where you end up leaning on each other. So if at the very least it starts a conversation, then we're on the right track.
100%.
Thank you to both of you guys for sharing. This is the pre-show before the NFR. We haven't even talked about that yet, but we're not going to until the second half. We're going to get to our guest right now, but thanks to James Foley, our guest co-host today, Wasey Anderson in the top left if you're watching the video. If not, we'll catch up with you guys after this. We'll be back with Brandon Bates after the break. Thanks again.
Our next guest was the voice of the PBR for over 17 years, announcing his first event at the age of 20, and he's been fortunate enough to call some of the biggest moments in the sport's history. At the end of the 2019 World Finals, he moved on from the PBR to pursue new interests, launching his own clothing brand, Rural Cloth. A dedicated family man and a father of 3 daughters, an outdoorsman, and lover of the Western lifestyle. Welcome to the Cowboy Shit Podcast, Brandon Bates.
What's happening?
This is probably like our biggest announcer get.
You got some of that right. You didn't get, I mean, you were close.
I was close?
Yeah, 18
years.
I probably announced my first like actual event whenever I was 17. And then I think I announced my first PBR when I was 21. Probably, but I think my first PRCA rodeo when I was likely 20. Ooh. I can't remember if I got a car. I was like 19 or 20. Somebody told me the other day.
So what led you down that path at that age then? Like as opposed to like heading down the competitor avenue?
Oh, well, because I was a really shitty competitor. That's exactly what led me down that path. I was a terrible athlete. I mean, that was, I kind of grew up in that space where that's what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to, I wanted to ride bulls and like the rough stock game. But I just was not good at it. I mean, that was one of the biggest things that I think I learned, pretty early on, is that I was not good at it. And, I was probably a little bit too heavy. I was pretty tall. I was, close to 6 foot, weighed in the 170 range. I mean, just things that kind of create problems for you if you want to be a bull rider, right? Probably could have made it as an okay bareback rider, but just wasn't tough enough, I don't think. And at that point in time, like I had gotten so far down the path of, of rodeoing and I don't want to say politics or politically, but like I was a relationship guy, right? So like I had made some really good relationships, with some of the guys that helped found the PBR, like Mark Kane and some of the other guys like, that were really big in the pro rodeo at the time, like David Bailey Sr. and and where I went to high school and kind of grew up was a real like kind of prime time rodeo hotspot. I mean, I grew up, 8 miles down the road from where, Lane Frost lived and his mom and dad, Clyde and Elsie Frost. And, and when you grew up where I grew up, you like everybody went to the NFR. I mean, that was just kind of what you did. And if you didn't, you were kind of a loser. So it was easy for me to, make relationships. And by the time I had made relationships when I was in high school, I just decided once I figured out that I wasn't going to be tough enough to be a bull rider, I was like, okay, I want to be an announcer. So that was it. That kept me in the game, right?
So were you announcing and competing at the same time, or did you transition just straight from like you got bucked off a bull at one event, you're like, fuck this, I'm going announcing?
No, you're right. I mean, that's exactly what I was doing. Like it's so funny you bring that up because not many people make that correlation. When I was in high school, people would pay me to announce the high school rodeo, and they would hold my bull until slack after everybody was gone. The judges would stick around. I would sell the show or, the high school rodeo or whatever, and then climb down the announcer stand and go get my bull and usually eat shit and be done. But yeah, no, I was doing both. That's exactly what was happening.
What you should have did is just wear a headset down while you were getting on your bull, and you just pump your own tires while you're tying your hand
They
in.
typically want the announcers to speak for more than a second and a half. So that was the problem there.
Holy.
Did you find that you had a voice for, like, did you have to work on your voice, or did that just come natural for you?
Great. I got one. I don't want to do this because I got one thing that's driving me absolutely nuts. And the thermostat you guys can't see is right there. But as soon as you introduced me, the heat kicked on, and it's the induction vent is right to my right and is driving me nuts. So give me like 2 seconds to turn it off. Hang on.
We'll pause it. Did you get those notes yet now, James?
Yeah, I'm just, which ones do I open? Oh, yeah, right here.
It's just
Google
one
Doc,
whole
man.
thing, yeah.
It's 2020.
Like, I'm sitting at my table trying to get this to work, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fucking you one, buddy.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. Got it. It'll shut off. It'll at least shut off in a second. But I'm not kidding you. As soon as we started, that thing came on. It sounds like a jet just to my right. Can you guys hear it?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got you.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, could you hear it though?
Oh no.
Oh, no.
God. Okay. Yep. You got. I'm ready. So anyway, you asked me about the
voice.
voice thing. Yeah. So the way that I found it is I as a high school student. Long story short, I was living with a cousin, basically, as kind of a roommate my senior year of high school, because he lived in town, and where my grandparents lived and the ranch that I lived on, they were like 30 minutes outside of town. So for me to not have to drive 30 minutes into town to go to school and 30 minutes home, I stayed with my cousin my senior year a lot, who lived in Atoka, Oklahoma, which is where I went to high school. Anyway, girlfriend at the time, wife now, they've been married for, I feel like 30 years, but at least 20. She did something dumb that day. I can't even remember what it was. It was just like something, I can't remember what it was. And it was just something really silly. And when she did it, I looked at her and I said, well, Bob, tell her what she's won behind door number 2. and that was the moment that it like clicked. And she was like, you have an announcer voice. And I'm like, whatever. Like I just didn't. And then she kind of kept saying, she's like, no, she's like, you got an announcer voice. Like, you should go tell them that you want to announce the basketball games, the football games, or different things. Well, what really clicked is when I figured out that I could go to my high school staff and ask them if I could announce the basketball games, I realized that would allow me to get out of class. So I could get out of class to go announce the starting lineups at our basketball games and things like that. And at that point in time, like, I was hooked, right? Like that was really fundamentally the beginning of the whole deal.
Were those connections you made early on like help with your transition to like getting into the PBR and stuff, or like without those, do you think it'd have been a harder road to get there?
They didn't help at all. I mean, they really did not help at all. It's ironic that you bring that up too, because like Mark Kane was a founder of the PBR, one of the original 20, but I mean, there wasn't anything he could do, right? There wasn't anything anybody could do. And I was super young, so I mean, I really had to go out. And he didn't have any influence at the corporate structure of PBR at that time either. But one of the things is, like, I went out and announced, some junior rodeos, and then a high school rodeo, and a college rodeo, and then, decided that I wanted to go. And because my main goal wasn't even really PBR as much as it was, to be the next Bob Tallman, right? That was my thing. Is like I wanted to go in a pro rodeo and do all these big pro rodeos and stuff. And I told the story the other day, but I went through the review process with PBR, or I mean with PRCA, and they failed me the first time that I sent in 5 rodeos. They came and listened to me, and they failed me. They sent me a letter back and said, you're not good enough. They said,
what criteria do they fail you on then?
Inexperience, I guess.
Really? Huh. Interesting.
They really, if you want to know the truth, they failed me on the criteria that they wanted me to send them another $1,000 and another 5 rodeos so they could come.
That sounds more legit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was their criteria. I mean, maybe I wasn't good enough, but it's hard for me to say that at 20 I wasn't good enough. 19 or 20 I wasn't good enough, and then 2 years later, 22. they hire me to announce the Dodge National Circuit Finals in Pocatello, Idaho. Youngest ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so obviously, like, you don't just get better. You know what I mean? Like in a 2-year time frame, you don't go from being so horrible that you can't even, get a membership.
You passed the you failed.
All of a sudden announcing one of their biggest events.
Well, and that kind of goes back to some of the stuff with rodeo that's really fucked up, because you got your competitors, you got fellow announcers that already have cards, are the ones that are judging you or grading you on being an announcer. Like, that's totally bullshit.
Total bullshit. I mean, it's one of the things that I hate about, the politics and the political game of pro rodeo. I've got some really good friends over there that are announcers, and I've got some that probably don't like me, and I promise you I could give two shits. But the reason that they don't, the reason that they don't like me is because they know that I'm not going to play their game. And if they piss me off, and if I decide to play their game, I'll go do their rodeo for free. The one thing that they despise more than anything on the planet is somebody undercutting them, because that's their own little game of socialism. Oh, if Calgary's going to call you, you've got to, and they're going to charge. If they paid me $4,000 a round, and I'm making these numbers up, they're arbitrary, right? And that's the thing is, if Calgary's going to call you and they paid me $4,000 a round, and you can't take it for any less than that, or you really can't even take it for that. You got to take it for more. Bullshit. If Calgary calls me and they want me to come do it for $1,500 a performance, and that's what makes me happy, guess what? I'm going to go wreck your job. And, that's just capitalism. That's just how it works. I've always been the antichrist of the union game, like just the absolute. Just despise it more than anything. And, I think before the PBR hired me full time, I mean, I told them, a lot of guys in the PRCA, like, don't ever tell me what I can charge or what I can't charge because of what, because you're worried about your job, like, and the same goes for a lot of other guys out there, right? Like, a lot of other guys are, what? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember his name. What's the really good announcer up there in Canada?
Brett Gardner. Yeah, Brett.
Yeah, Brett. Like I've had a lot of conversations with him, where he's felt this insane pressure and kind of this. I won't name any names of where it's come from, but you can do the math and connect the dots pretty easy and figure it out. He's going to listen to this and be mad at me for calling it. But I told him, I'm like, bullshit. Like, if you got a rodeo down the road and they want to pay you and you need to pay your bills, I don't give a rat's ass what those other guys say. Crush them. Take their job. If they're that good, they won't even pick up the phone and call you to begin with.
That's good.
And that's the whole premise and principle is, I don't know. Like I said, I've been the antichrist of their little union system forever because I just think it's gross and disgusing.
So is that kind of what drove you?
I think that goes in all of rodeo, though. Like, and I don't think it's just announcers. Ted would be the first one to tell you. And like, music's probably cutthroat. Stock contracting the exact same way. So it's pretty cool to hear a guy like come out and say, what, fuck what you're saying. This is the way I want it. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. Easy as that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And look, let me slow down for 2 seconds and say this. It's really easy for a guy that's announced the PBR finals 18 times in some of the biggest rodeos in pro rodeo. Now that I'm quote unquote retired, to sit on the sidelines and say, "Hey, I'm going to do it this way." But I really did, and you guys should know that. Like, when I took the PBR job, I know that they were paying me less than they had paid some other guys in the past, and I was on the fence at that time when I was really young, like 22, when they first hired me. And I'm like, man, is this right? Like, am I doing the right thing? And I had people chirping on my ear saying, "You can't do that. You're undercutting them." And I just really thought about it, and I kind of went back to the whole conversation that we just had, where I was like, "Hey, wait a minute! Like, this is my life. Like, this is capitalism, and this is a decision for me to make. And if I'm willing to go do the job and I can afford it, and it makes sense, I'm happy to work my way up." And the other fundamental thing that I believed is I didn't think that someone that had tenure should make the same as someone who didn't. Right? Like, coming in as a 22-year-old kid, I didn't think I should make the same amount of money as a Bob Tallman or a Mike Mathis or whoever it would be. I thought that needed to be earned. Their mentality, and I'm not throwing Bob under the bus here or anybody for that matter, but there are certain announcers out there, you know who you are. There are guys out there that said, "There's no way you should take that job for less than what they're paying me." At that point in time, you're making about a budgetary thing and who's the best, right? Who's the best bullfighter? Who's the best announcer? Who's the best music guy? Who's the best whatever, right? At that point in time, you're just making it about budget and not about who's the best. And that's just, not my thing.
So were some of those factors what drove you towards the PBR as opposed to going the PRCA route?
No, not really. I mean, early on, I got a funny story too for you about the PRCA. Whenever I was like, when I finally got the PBR job, no, but Jerome Robinson called me in the winter of 2002 and said, "Hey, we want you to come to set." And it was like Thanksgiving week, and in fact, it might have very well been this day, in 2002. So what is that? 18 years ago, 19 years ago. Robinson calls me and says, "Hey, we want you to come to 17, 18 events next year. What do you want to do?" And I said, I'm in, done, and told me what they were going to pay. And that was it. And I went, I can't even remember what it was. It was like, $1,200, $1,500 a night, which was at that time was really good, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty good paycheck. And no, that was really what drove me to PBR, not at PRCA, was the fact that, they hired me, I was there, and that was the deal. I had, and I still did go to a few pro rodeos. I remember, I went to Gunnison, Colorado, Cheyenne, Hugo, Oklahoma. There was a handful of, PRCA rodeos that I went to in the summer of 2003 and still was rodeoing some. Mobridge, South Dakota, handful of rodeos that I went to. But it just over time, over the next couple of years, it just really faded down, because then it went from 17 PBR events to 28, and then not only 28, then everybody wanted you, if you were kind of the main guy for at that time the Built Ford Tough series. Actually, when I started, it was the Bud Light Cup, Built Ford Tough, now Monster Tour. So I've been through three. I've been through three title changes. But at that time, everybody wanted you to then come to the Touring Pro Division events from the middle of summer. By the time I knew it, I was doing 45 events a year. Just bull riding, just PBR.
So where did Jerome see you in the first place?
So David Bailey he didn't see me. David Bailey had hired me to do Tulsa, Oklahoma in October. It was the final event of 2001. Final event of the season in 2001, David Bailey hired me to do Tulsa, Oklahoma with Donnie Gay. And I did Tulsa. And then the next year, Jerome Robinson had an event where Kurt Blake was the manager of. Jerome couldn't even be there. Kurt Blake, this is a funny story. You guys want stories? I got some stories. It's I just need to jog my memory a little bit. Kurt Blake will love this too. But so Jerome Robinson hires me to do Fort Smith, Arkansas. And at that point in time, this was the early summer of 2002. So Fort Smith is going to be my second PBR, actually third PBR, because I had done Guthrie, Bonanza. Justin McKee had moved over to television. They needed a guy. And so the first big time call up was there at Lazy in Bonanza in February 2002. So I guess he saw me there and then hired me to do that deal in Fort Smith with Donnie Gay. And, I have a living quarters trailer, but at that time I was an announcer that brought all my own sound and stuff, right? So I had speakers. It was a 1-horse living quarters trailer with stack full of speakers and things. And I'm not even 21 yet. I know that. I'm 20. And so I see, that's the thing. That's the only problem with all this. My dates have got to be mixed up. So maybe my dates have got to be mixed up because I wasn't old enough to drink. And here comes the story. Anyway, whenever it was, I was at Fort Smith, Arkansas. Jerome Robinson needed an announcer and had Kurt Blake hire me. Jerome had hired me and said, hey, there's a guy going to be there. His name's Kurt Blake. You meet him when you get there. He'll get you all set up. He's taken care of. I'm not going to be there. But so anyway. So Kurt Blake comes to my trailer, knocks on the door, and he's like, hey, I'm looking for this kid, Brandon Bates. Have you seen him? And I'm like, yeah, I'm Brandon Bates. He says, hey, perfect. I'm Kurt Blake, the guy Jerome told you about. Nice to meet you. And we're going to have a production meeting here about 4 o'clock. Blah, blah, blah. And this is probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I hit up with Kurt and I go, hey, look, man, like before we get this production meeting, like I got a small favor to ask. Do you think you could run to the store and get me some beer because I'm not old enough to buy it? And Kurt Blake can tell that story better than I do, but that's the truth of what happened. I was just like, I was a punk, man. Like I was not really like, I think I thought I was more grown up than I actually was, but yeah.
Holy. So when did you get out of the sound business and just go strictly announcing?
Oh my God, just the first time that they let me. I never had any intention of being in the sound business. It was just the only way for me to grind my way to get where I wanted to get. Like if you had amateur rodeo in Oklahoma, like it didn't do them any good to have a really good announcer if they didn't have a speaker system, right? And 99% of the rodeos and stuff coming up, like you had to do it all. Like, I mean, I remember setting up speakers and mini disc and mixer, like I had it all, and I ran it all, and ran it all and announced at the same time. So
and then got on your bull at the end.
And then got on my bull at the end. I'm not. I mean, that's true. That's what happened.
Damn.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome.
James, you got something right now?
No. I'm listening. I like the old stories. I like to hear where guys, start off and figure it out and then break off. I think it's pretty cool that you just. Did you have a catchphrase back in the day that you had that you used, and then all of a sudden like somebody came up to you and they're like, "Hey, Brandon, we got to change that shit because it's not working"? Or
no, I never had a catchphrase. The only, I guess, closest thing that I would have to a catchphrase ever is, and this wasn't even mine. This was Tommy Joe Lucia's, who created this for the PBR when it started in 2003, and I think we hung on to it for a long time, was the opening line of the PBR, which was, "This is not a rodeo." Now, this is not a rodeo. This is the one and only PBR. And that was my line and how I started the performance every single night for, probably 10 years until, Sean Gleason, when Sean kind of came in and was started to run things, he was like, "You don't ever start an event with telling them what you're not going to do." And I'm like, whatever, who gives a shit? Like, if you actually think that matters, then great. If you think that it did, then it doesn't matter. So that was a great line, I think, forever. And maybe he's right. I don't know. Maybe you don't start an event by telling someone that what you're not. But I thought it was great for the PBR for a long time. The whole "this is not a rodeo," like it really stuck, and it was the one thing that really differentiated people and went, "Oh my God, you're right. This is not a rodeo. This is just PBR."
Is it true that they were gonna fire you guys if you said rodeo for a few years there? Was that a thing or no?
God, no, because I'd have been fired after day one. I mean, it's funny. Like I think there's always a lot of rumors, floating around in a lot of different scenarios and situations. But no, I mean, there was never one time that I was ever told, don't call, like, when J.W. Harris came over, or when in the very early days, 10 years before J.W. Harris, like, let's go to 03, 04, right? There was never one time whenever I was said, don't call that guy NFR qualifier. Don't call that guy a world champion if he was a PRCA world champion. Like, that was never, ever, ever talked about. Not from Randy Bernard, not from the days when Tuff was the president, not from Ty, not from Cody, not from anybody. Those guys had tremendous respect. Those guys had tremendous respect for the guys that had come, through the rodeo world and through the PRCA. That was a PRCA thing. If you want to talk about something that's a gross display of insecurity, when they on the NFR broadcast refuse to identify Jess Lockwood or people like that as a world champion, or when Shane Proctor, when he's at the NFR, they refuse to call him a PBR world champion. Like, that's just the biggest chicken shit, most disgusting display of insecurity I've ever seen in my life. But no, they are the ones that did that. I can tell you, as a guy on the microphone for 18 years, I was never ever instructed to not mention to not mention pro rodeo or the NFR or any classification. I was always given free will to introduce a guy any way that I wanted to.
They're still scared to say it. They still don't.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm like, just let them live in their little,
Yeah.
let them live in their world of, whatever. And it's fine.
How was it announcing with Donnie Gate?
Oh yeah, I had to go there too.
Yeah, like that's gotta be. Oh my God!
In a whale.
He's in the well.
Donnie was great. I announced with Donnie. I think I announced with Donnie like three or four times. I announced Tulsa's touring pro that David Bailey had with him. I announced that event in Fort Smith. I announced the event in some town in Texas. I cannot remember, probably because I was too drunk and young. But I started the rodeo when he flew over the arena in his plane, landed, and then showed up like 20 minutes late. That was an interesting experience. He literally buzzed the arena with his plane over the top and landed in, and then he was my co-announcer, but he didn't get there until we were in the steer wrestling. And then I announced somewhere else with him, I think Arcadia, Florida or something like that, which is a pro rodeo at the time too. But anyway, it was, man, that's one of the things that allowed me to get, I think, as far as I got, was knowing when it was time for me to step aside. And if someone wanted to run with the football, let them run with the football. I didn't always have to be the best. I didn't always have to be the guy in front. I didn't always have to be the star of the show. And I still fundamentally believe that that's the biggest problem that most announcers have in their career, is they can't get out of their own way. When I left and whenever I was on, the pro rodeo scene and things like that, Cody Lambert really was the one that instilled this in me, and thank God he did and got it through at such a young age. I just learned really young, like, you're not the star. Those guys are. The guys getting on the bulls, the guys getting on the bucking horses, the guys not, like, they are the stars. Don't make it about you. And there's a lot of rodeo announcers that can't do that. Like, they just can't. Like, they don't understand. They don't know how to do it. They can't. And it's an ego thing. And I think that you have to have some level of ego, right? Like, you have to be some level of narcissistic person to be able to stand up in front of 15, 20, 30,000 people and be a commentator, right? Like, you have to have a certain level of confidence to pull that off. Unfortunately, that level of confidence and narcissism and ego and all those things unfortunately, they'll mesh themselves together. And I think I was really, really lucky to never, ever be cocky. Like, that was what I prided myself on, was never being arrogant, never being cocky. If I was announcing with Donnie Gay and he wanted to be the star of the show, I just kind of served it up to him on a platter and was like, here, be the star of the show. Call out all the scores, say all the weird, funky, cool shit that you want to say, and I'm just going to get back and I'll, help facilitate that. So, yeah.
Did you work on the PBR video game when that came out?
Which one? There's
one that, like, the more famous one that came out, like, on when the Wii was a thing. It was Out of the Chute.
The very first one?
Yeah.
I think so.
That game was awesome. I remember having it. I beat it.
I feel like I did. Yeah. I feel like I worked on some of that stuff. There was a lot of those things that we did, a lot of really cool stuff, but yeah.
Well, going to your time with the PBR, you're around for some of the greatest moments in the sport's history. The first time they gave away $1 million. The 18 years or the 17 years after that first year, what is, I don't even know where to go with this. We could talk about the changes that you saw with the sport or the big moments. I'm just going to leave it up to you there, where you want to go with it.
I remember being in Colorado Springs the day that Chris Rivers got on a little yellow jacket for what was going to be $1 million. They, bucked him off just on inside of 5 seconds. But, I've been there for some really, really big moments. Trying to think of, some of my favorites, man. And
was there ever a moment during those 17 years or 18 years where you were like, you're announcing, you're like, wow, like, this is like a history, like, making moment in the PBR that's going to be at the focal point for people through.
Yeah, man, I had the call on McBride on Camo, which is what I call the greatest 76-point bull ride of all time. It's hanging off the side, and just an absolute wreck. I mean, I had the call there. I had the call on Chris Shivers whenever, he got bucked off a little yellow jacket for the $1 million. I mean, I remember going back to the hotel room that night and watching that on, on Sports Center. That was pretty cool. And, there's been a lot of them. My personal favorite moment in the PBR, my personal favorite was probably my final call. One of my very final calls in 19 last year at the finals was coming out of the break. And I got to get this from them because I'm not a real sentimental guy when it comes to like stuff like that, but like there are just some little bitty things that I'd like to have. That was one. Coming out of the break, really, really cool story. I'm coming out of the break and I get the rundown final, I think, or maybe top three, right? Final three guys to go as we're coming out of commercial break, championship round, final Sunday World Finals last year. And he's got smooth, and Chase Outlaw has smooth operator. I'll take you back before when we're actually in intermission. Pretty emotional day for me, right? At the end of the day, that final Sunday was super emotional for me. I'll give you all the good inside stuff here. So that final Sunday was really, really emotional. I mean, from the time that I woke up to the time that, because my wife was there and she had been, pretty emotional over the weekend. And I just knew that final day was going to be pretty heavy. And I wanted to give it every damn thing I had. So I kind of let Clint have most of the bulk of the day, like until we get to intermission and then we get to the final top 15 championship round. And I get the draw and I'm looking all through the list. And the one that stands out to me is Chase Outlaw, with mathematically pretty much like a 0.001% chance of being able to catch anybody and win the world title. And if he's going to do it, he's got to be 98 on smooth operator. And there's one bull in there that I thought a guy should have been 98 on, and that was Cooper Davis when he rode that bull in Atlantic City a season before that. I thought, by the way, I wasn't there. It was a weekend I had taken off, which was pretty rare for me, but taking off the weekend. Cooper Davis rides smooth operator, hands down the greatest bull ride I've ever seen in my life. Out of thousands of bull rides that I've watched in person, thousands of them that I've watched on tape. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you've watched this sport. Go back and Google it. Atlantic City, Cooper Davis on smooth operator is the greatest bull ride in the history of time. There's never been one like it. So if you guys want to take a look at that, if anybody wants to challenge that, I'd love for you to give me one that were a guy. Now, he didn't score 98. I think they marked him 93 and 4 or something. I mean, they could have marked him 99 and a half, and I would have been totally fine with it. But anyway, we come out of break, and I went to take a piss during intermission. I'm back to the World Finals on Championship Sunday. Judges and I are passing each other. And I've already started to pull this thing together because I know how it's going to line up when we get to Chase Outlaw and smooth operator. And I know what I'm going to say. And me and the judges passed each other in the hall. And I said, hey, guys, I said, I appreciate it. This has been really fun and all that fun shit. I said, but I'm about to throw all of you under the bus, so please don't take it personal. So we go through out of intermission. Those guys kind of look at me like, what? But, they didn't know where I was going with it. We come out of intermission, and we get through the first 12. We take a final TV break, and then it's Chase Outlaw on smooth operator. That was my favorite moment and favorite call of my entire career. Ted, were you there? Were you guys there?
Last year at the World Finals?
Yeah, 19 World Final last year.
I didn't make it down, but I was.
No, I didn't go at it.
One of the things I want to get at is when they had the camera on you too, but like that was the intensity and on your face. It was a different view to see you talking during the event.
Yeah, no, and we can talk about that too. I mean, yeah, they did that a lot last year for whatever reason. I don't know, because they'd never done it before, but. So we get to Chase Outlaw, and that was the moment where, like, I had to set the stage, and I was like, look, and this is basically what I said in a non-announcer voice, and I will try to find this clip and see if I can have somebody from PBR pull it from the files, but I basically had to kind of stop and look at the crowd, and I said, look, like, I know you guys are going to think I'm full of shit, but I promise I'm not full of shit. If there's one guy and there's one matchup and there's one situation where a guy needs to be 98 points to have a shot at winning a world championship. This is that moment, and it's right now. And then, like, I kind of took them through what the story that I just told you about the judges. Like, I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. Like, really, I am, because it was such a cool moment. And then I went and told the crowd, and I said, because let me tell you about the mistake that was made in Atlantic City when Cooper Davis rode this bull and should have been 99 points. And I said, and that day, the judges got it wrong. Some of those judges are here today, and they know they got it wrong. And I mean, I just like literally dove way off out there. And like, I look at Cody Lambert in front of the buck and shoots, and he's like, holy shit, the guys in the announcer stand are, they're standing around me, and they're kind of doing the same thing. They're like, oh my God, like he's really going there. Because you just don't bash the judges. And I wasn't bashing them by any means. Look, they're all human, right? They all can, anybody can, but that particular matchup and that moment and that bull. and I thought Chase Outlaw was about to be 98 and a half. I really did. Like in my brain, like that's how I had worked it out. And that's, what I wanted to be. Anyway, that was probably my favorite moment. Of all the world finals, there were so many, man. Like there were some really cool ones, and Ted, like you talking about the camera being on me. I think that's the best way to describe to people, for me to describe to people how I felt in those big moments, all those years at those events. Is like I wanted to try and give you something that if you were sitting in the stands, like I wanted you to feel it. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be as descriptive as I possibly could so you could understand what it was like for that guy on the back of the bull in that moment, and every single detail that made you feel, that like you were a part of it. And that you weren't just sitting back watching another, guy throw a football, but that you were truly a part of it. And feel the intensity of what the sport is about. So, and I think that's probably like when you go back and you look at when they put the camera on me on TV and those types of things, like that's really, what it was.
I went back and found a couple of these clips. So, and I sent it to everybody here so we can watch Cooper and we can watch. Yeah, I've got Cooper. Actually, I've got to send that one. I got Cooper on Smooth Operator.
Probably is Atlantic City 17 or 18? I can't remember.
Yeah, 93 3/4. I wonder. Can I send it? Can I do this on? I can share my screen, can't I? Yeah. Let's do some technology here.
And I remember that. I remember that bull ride, and Cooper's at the end of his arm, like absolutely laying back on Smooth Operator and just whipping. And it's probably one of the rankest things I've ever seen.
Here it is, right here.
This is cool.
This thing.
What is 2020? What a time to be alive.
So how do I? Oh, so it's on my desktop. So here we go.
Okay.
You can share this ride.
Everything you possibly want one to do. Like, and it's kind of choppy right there. Like
Ted's got it on the Civil War setting.
What's that?
Ted has it on a Civil War video setting.
It's pretty choppy right there, the way that it comes through. But yeah, man, I've seen a lot of bull rides in my life. I've never seen one look like that.
I have a comparable for you. What about Jose's ride at the World Finals this year? Like, to me, that was the best bull ride I've ever seen. When he was 95 3/4 or whatever.
So I've got that one next. Hold on. We're just going to watch this one back.
I mean, I'm watching this in slow motion. Look how heavy this bull is. Like,
man.
Oh my God.
That is nuts.
Like, it's just so rank. Like, I mean, so rank. Yeah, I'm happy to watch those days. And I can tell you that there's no way that Whoopa is going to be nearly as strong as Smooth Operator. I mean...
Yeah, I get what you're saying on not.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah,
the same amount of kicks not there. This bull's drifting out there, really gathering himself underneath. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a good bull, and I'm not taking anything away from Jose. But to me, those two aren't even remotely inside of 3 points of one another. Like I think if you're like to me, they instantly have to be flipped. I think the hype. Now, let me go back and say this. This is going to piss a lot of people off. If you give me the call on Cooper's ride at the World Finals in that situation in a championship round, Cooper's very likely 97 or 98.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you go and you change the setting. This is a regular season event in Atlantic City.
And nobody even wanted to be there. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, it was like, it was Atlantic City. And I remember when this came out on the schedule and they're like, yeah, we're going to Atlantic City in September or middle October. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I'm like, that's not going to happen.
This ties really well into a question I really wanted to ask you about. I got presented a conspiracy theory last episode with Ted about how I don't think that the highest score ever recorded is ever going to be broken in the PBR. What do you think about that? Do you think we're ever going to see like a 97, 98 point bull ride? Like, because like looking at these two guys we just watched, like they're a lot better than some of the 96s and 90s back in the day that we've seen.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's no question that, like, I mean, even, yeah, I mean, if you want to go back and, I mean, look, I one of my favorite people in the world is Michael Gaffney. I was there the day he rode Little Yellow Jacket in Nampa, Idaho for 96.5, and
he got loaded.
Yeah.
I helped load him. I mean, I was one of the guys on the microphone, and I mean, I was jumping up and down and, making a big crazy deal out of it.
Which you have to do though. Like, what's exciting at the time.
But at the time, you got to remember what the judges have to compare it to, right? Like, they don't have a lot to compare it to. And they can't see the future. They can't tell that in 2020 and 2019 and 2018 that we're going to have bulls that are true 46, 47, 48 point bulls, right? So, I mean, so that's why you come back, when you look at Bubba Dunn's ride, 96.5 on Promised Land, spurred the bull in the neck all the way through in Tampa, Florida. You got Chris Shivers on Jim Jam. You got, Michael Gaffney on Little Yellow Jacket. You've got Blueberry Wine and Gilbert Carrillo in Albuquerque. What else did I miss one?
I think that's pretty much all of them.
All the 90s. Yeah. I mean, to me, none of those rides compare. From a conspiracy theory, no. I do think they'll break it. I don't think there's a conspiracy theory there by any means. I think those guys are scared to death to make a mistake. Mm-hmm. I love Cody Lambert to death. We're great friends, but that's his fault. He's created that atmosphere with these guys, and he can say that I'm wrong until he's blue in the face, and we'll probably get in a screaming match over this. But he's put the fear of God in those judges forever, and that's been a big problem for those guys. That's why I think some of them were scared to Mark Cooper in Atlantic City, the true 97, 98 that he should have been. I think that's why, you see situations where I think judges make mistakes because they're scared of getting their ass chewed by one of the best ass chewers I've ever been around.
I'd like to go back to what you were talking about before, about you saying that if Cooper Davis's ride was in the finals and you were announcing it, from a stock contractor point of view, and Wasey and Ted can give you the aspect of a rider view, but I feel like the announcer, depending in the moment, where we're at, what round it's at, but I feel like the announcer does actually have a little bit of touch of what the judges are going to score, depending on the hype before the actual bull ride. Do you find that you can sell a little bit?
Yeah, it's extremely difficult and narcissistic for me to say, right? Like for me to really answer that question the way that I guess I'll call it pillow talk that my wife and I have. But yeah, I'll be super blunt with you. And then my other challenges, I would ask you, call Chad Berger, call Jess, call JB, call Cooper Davis, guys like that, and ask them if you need an extra point or an extra 2 points, and you think, and it's some particular spot at the World Finals or an event or whatever, what announcer are you going to take on the microphone? And I promise you 10 times out of 10, they're going to say me, because I do believe that the one thing that I had and I naturally got it. I don't know how, I know how, but I don't know why I naturally got it, was I had incredible timing and I had the ability to recognize moments, and I had the ability to recognize when a guy needed an extra point or two. And I couldn't influence the judges, but I could influence the crowd enough to influence the judges with the energy in the room.
Oh, 100%.
And I've watched me do it 1,000 times, and those guys can, and it's one of those things, right? It's not provable. You know what I mean? Like if I go to any judge or anybody, like, you didn't have anything to do with that. You didn't have any, and that's their take. And maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too narcissistic, right? Maybe I believe too much, that I had too much influence, but I didn't influence the judges. I influenced the energy in the room. And that was one of the things I felt like I was really, really, really good at. And that's what I always said about me and JB. We have a real love-hate relationship because JB did all the work. He wrote all the bulls, but I recognized the moments when JB needed a lot of energy in that room. And I did a lot to help him get it.
Were you on the mic when he rode Bushwhacker?
Yeah.
What was that like?
He was JB, right? Like you didn't expect it to not happen. Like even out of the 7 or 8 times the bull bucked him off, like you just knew that he had the ability and the talent to ride anything at any point in time, and he was really good at it.
Well, I definitely, like I said, there's events and just scenarios, even certain events where you could tell, in a bull and a rider match up, and when the bull ride's over, if you're standing on the back of the chutes, you're like, oh, that was a damn good bull ride, 87 and a half. And then all of a sudden they're like 90, and you're like, what the hell did I see?
Yeah.
But it's that moment. It's the energy in the room, and it's human. Where I'm not saying the judges get caught up in it, but
they do.
Everybody does.
They're human. I mean, everybody gets caught up in it, right? Like, I mean, because at the point in time that your brain has to process and watch a bull ride, then it's over, and then you're dealing with people on their feet, and everything's chaotic, and things are crazy around you. Like your brain's now going, well, maybe what I saw was better than I thought it was. And you know what I mean? And that number is coming in. But yeah, I mean, yes, I think I had a lot of influence over a lot of big moments, in the PBR, not from the physical standpoint. I didn't have anything to do with riding the bull. Those guys had to do all of that. And I didn't have that much to do with it during the course of the 8 seconds. It was the 30 seconds before the guy got ready to nod his head, because by the time the gate opened, I wanted you just, bursting out of your own brain at what that moment was and what it was like. And it was just timing. Yeah. I just, that was one of the things that I was really, really blessed to have, that you can't teach, right? You can't teach timing. You either have it or you don't.
I got to go back to, I got a couple things. The entertainment side of the PBR is part of the reason why it stands out. And we have such a better product than rodeo, honestly. There's a lot of good rodeos. The NFR has great content. There's a lot of great rides and a lot of great runs. But the entertainment product, I think it sucks. It's been the same for 25 years. Where the PBR, you guys have built over the years that you guys have built, and especially what you've done is you build the storylines. I remember being at the World Finals in 2013 was the one I really remember the most, when JB won his first world title. 13, he was like 90 like 4 times that week.
Yeah,
and the people were
Wipeout, right? In the last round?
Wipeout, in the last round, he rode SmackDown that week. He was 90 on a bull of Randy Cortieri's. Like, there was just the storylines and those setups where it's Silvano and JB, the last 2 guys, I've been in both those buildings. This is the first year I've been in the finals for the NFR since 2010 when I went to school there. But like, I've seen that building, and it's a snooze fest. People are leaving before the bull riding's over. We're at the World Finals, like nobody leaves till it's over, because the best shit is at the end, and it is fucking exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, man, I mean, I don't mind going to the NFR and sitting down and watching rodeos, and look, they put together a pretty incredible product for a lot of years, but yeah, like I can't tell. Here's what I always say about when I'm there. I can't tell the difference in the energy in the room from the second round to the 10th round. and I've been to them all. Like, and there should be a difference, right? Like when you get in there in the second round, like, hey, it's the second round. Sure, this aggregate money plays, but the round money is really what we're focusing on. Like, and there are storylines there that they just do not, and the announcers will say that they don't let them tell it. And that's probably the reason that they'll never hire me to do the NFR, because I can promise you, if I ever get the NFR, I'll have it for 1 year, because the whole time that they're telling me, hey, stop, I'm going to be doing this right back at I'm not going to stop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to play that bullshit game. Like, if you want, the best storylines and the best moments, and you want those setups, I mean, could you imagine the PBR finals and that energy every night in the NFR? It's possible. You can go get it. It exists out there, and I would gladly do it. But I'm not going to play the cookie cutter bullshit of, I'm never going to be boring. Like, and I don't, and I'm retired. I don't have to anymore.
It's kind of like Groundhog Day. Like, it just going back. Like, I'm excited to stay home this year and not go, because I'm bored of it for the most part. Like, it's just not. It's the same shit every time. There's different content. Like, you have different rides, but the entertainment is shit, I think. But my where I wanted to go with part of that was, do you ever you might go for 1 year to the final, like to the NFR, you're saying, as an announcer, possibly? Is that a goal still? Where is your
I think so. Like I mean, I think that it is. It's funny. It's like at this point in time, it's an extracurricular goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, I'm certainly not going to lose any sleep over it. Because I think whenever I was 17, 18, that was a goal that I set out. I said I wanted to announce the PBR finals, and I'd like to announce the NFR. I don't know. I want to do the NFR on my terms, and right. Golly, it's such a dickhead comment to make. You guys are gonna
say it. You got to say it.
No, I know, but the problem is, like, there's certain things that I'm saying that make me look like I'm not probably as humble as I am, and I promise you, I'm really, really, really humble. And I kind of was saying this jokingly, but Ryan Brownlee the other night, which he's on the committee, the Las Vegas Events Committee and NFR committee now, and he was in my suite at the PBR finals the other night in Dallas, and I said, hey, you got that big rodeo? I said I wouldn't mind having a conversation one day. And he said, yeah. He said, everybody wants that rodeo. I said, yeah, but they're not me. And that was kind of where I left it. And it's a goal, man. Like, it would be great. For as much as I can talk about and kind of smack talk pro rodeo, because they have a lot of flaws. So does PBR. Every organization has flaws, right? It's still the icon of rodeo. You know what I mean? Like, they've it's still the PRCA, and it's, whether I agree with everything they do or don't, that doesn't, kind of like, but in the same time, it's kind of like what I say about going to church. When somebody goes in the church and like, I don't like that pastor. I don't like the way he preaches. I don't like how he does this. Maybe you need to come home and look in the mirror and go, maybe it's me. Like that there's some of that to be said, that, that's true. Like, maybe they're doing the best that they can, and everybody's got really good ideas of how to do it better, but maybe it's not implemented, the correct way. And I've certainly been critical of PBR and a lot of things that they've done. From upper management down, because there's certainly a lot of things that I would do differently than how Sean does things. But that doesn't mean that he's wrong, and that doesn't mean that I'm right. Those are just opinions and theories, and I think that's how organizations get better.
Do you think if you were announcing at the NFR, would you have time to get into many of those stories with how quick they run it? Would they have to change the format a little bit? Like, what do you think that way? It just runs so fast.
No, I mean,
some of that is part of it.
I think you got to pick. I think you got to pick some of them, right? Like, and then once again, I think you got to have incredible timing. You got to be, I can tell you that I wouldn't want to do it if Benji was the music guy. Nothing against Benji. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, when I say on my terms, they're like, and there's other announcers that would be like, oh my God, like, what are you saying? What do you mean your terms? Like, this is the NFR. Like, once again, I don't have to have it. This isn't a goal of mine that it's going to make a difference in my bank account, paying my bills or anything like that. It's not going to make a big difference to me. But yeah, I wouldn't do it with Benji. It would have to be, Brad Norducci or somebody like that I could really get on time and page with. Man, look, the guy's got some demons, right? And there's a lot of people that have talked, and he did it to himself, and he knows that he's a smart enough guy. But let me tell you, Mark Stevenson was a badass. And me and Mark Stevenson, like, I could look at Mark Stevenson when I was in that booth as a PBR announcer, and I could point, and he could read my mind, like almost know exactly what song I want at the exactly right cue. Like, that's rare. And if I had to pick a guy to go into a foxhole with and say who's going to be your, it'd probably be Mark. Because nobody has ever been able to read me like he has been able to.
But you probably haven't worked with anybody as much as Mark either on music.
Very true. Very, 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 very true. But I don't even think it was that as much as it was that we had the same vision of the same moments at the same time. I think we just happen to think a lot alike in what the big moments look like. And when he was sharp and when he was really focused on it, man, he could really make it happen. And he was a badass.
So did he pick Bad to the Bone, or was that you or JB?
It was me.
Really?
Yep, it was me. It was a combination. Previous to PBR, you guys can believe this, when I was 18, 19 years old, I used to announce monster truck shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, great. Yeah, great.
Did you work with
Sunday?
Cordo there? Is that where you met Cordovano?
Yep, that is where I met Cordo. Yep.
And wasn't Kurt there too, or who else was there? Was that Lunchbox too? Was he at the Monster Trucks?
No, well, he wasn't at the. We never ran in the circles. No. But yeah, I did meet Cordovano there, but yeah, that was, so anyway, Stevenson and I just had a conversation one day, and I said, man, I was like, the guy needs a theme song. It's got to be something. I'm like, North Carolina, Dennis Anderson, Grave Digger, like, let's go Bad to the Bone. And he played it, and then we started playing it, and that was it. Like, and it just stuck.
When was that?
Man, now you're getting me started. What was JB's rookie year?
08 or 07.
Probably 09.
Actually, it's probably further back than that. It's probably 04 or 05. Because he's been to the finals like 20 times too, actually.
Do you think that JB, after, you guys did it a couple events and it just like got the crowd going, but JB went home to his hotel and was like, fuck, I hate that song?
I think a lot of guys. Yeah, I do. I think a lot of guys. I think a lot of guys are like that. Like we've picked a few songs for a couple of different guys, and I think there's a few of them that.
Where did Guilherme's Nickelback song come from?
That was all
Mark. He picked that himself. Was that Mark? Okay.
I think that was all Mark. I think all Mark picked it, and I hated it. God,
of all the Nickelback songs you can pick, you picked that one.
Yeah, out of all the songs you could pick, that was the one that I was just, man, there's just no way to build on the back of this. Like, it was just so tough all the time.
What are some other ones you?
It was terrible.
It's not a bull riding song. It's like a song if you're just like driving alone and feeling sad almost.
what sums up Nickelback, right? Like,
whoa. I love Nickelback.
What else did you guys?
Canadian. Well, how could you not?
They're a national treasure.
What are some other ones you guys put together? Like which one? What else?
Oh man, I don't know. That was really the most memorable. I think that was really the only one.
That's the best one.
Are there some songs you can't listen to now that when you're traveling down the road, you hear songs like, oh, that's a song let's play that every event I was at. I have a few of those from going to rodeos.
Probably that one Nickelback song you're talking about.
What about the Keith Urban one from that Mark played so much? The Keith Urban, like the.
See my, here's my.
Hey, oh, hello.
Can you guys say hi to Beckham?
Hi. Hi, Beckham.
Hi, Beckham.
This is my 5-year-old. So whenever I was a kid in the PBR, say kid from for the 10 years where I weren't married and I lived a pretty wild lifestyle. Now I've got 3 lovely daughters. Once I did settle down and get married, it was all about the daughters. So go say hi to mom. Tell these guys bye. I got to finish up here.
See you later.
See you back up.
We've already kept you a long time here, Brandon. I got 2 more things I really want to get to the moment you decided to retire, we were talking about this earlier, but you had a cool story behind that. Like you knew kind of instantly when you were calling it.
Yeah, I had thought about it. I had thought about it for years. I think, and I think I thought about it for years, probably because I was convinced they were going to fire me one day. You know what I mean? That's just kind of what happens, right? Like if somebody comes in that's better than you and you lose your job. And I always felt and always thought that way. And I was always prepared for whenever I was the 22-year-old kid coming in and talking about taking somebody's job, that I was prepared for the next time a 22-year-old kid was going to be better than me and take my job. Like it's just, it's a cycle of life, right? But I never ever really like just said, okay, I had just, I'd gotten married in 2010. Really settled down. I mean, look, man, from 2002 to 2010, like I was like, when I say wild, I don't mean like heroin wild, but I mean like I was right? Like we drank a lot, partied a lot. Of course, it was different back then. You just did, you just were wild, right? Like you were in your early 20s and you were wild. But see, when I met my wife and my life completely settled down and turned the other way, which she probably saved my life, quite honestly. I think from that moment, from the time when her and I got married in 2010, we had casual conversations about me retiring or stopping, announcing and being done and doing something else. And fast forward 10 years later, basically, or 9, that's how not serious we took it. But I was in a hotel room at Chad Berger's event in the summer of 19, summer of 2019. And man, it was probably 2:00 in the afternoon. And I don't know what happened from 2:00 to 2:01, but I can just tell you that at like 2:01, that was it. Like I had a plan and a thought process and a decision in my head, and I was done. And I called my wife and I said, hey, I'm retiring at the end of the year. And she said, oh, we talked about this. You're not serious. You're not going to do it, blah, 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 blah. I mean, she really just kind of blew it off. And, but I mean, I was black and white, like so much so I downloaded a countdown app and put it on my phone. And it was my screensaver for the final day of the final Sunday at the World Finals. And I had told a few people in my inner circle, and they were like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And man, I don't know. I just decided, but that's where it happened, and it happened in Bismarck at Chad's event. That weekend, and it was actually the day before it was that Friday. The event was a Friday and Saturday night, and it was that Friday afternoon in the good old Ram Coda there in Bismarck, North Dakota, where I don't know, just hit me like a ton of bricks. I decided that I was done. I think it was a combination of, we had just, we're just having, just had our second daughter or third. I've got a 13-year-old, a 5-year-old, and now almost 2-year-old. Had 3 kids, and I just didn't want to be gone all the time, and I just wanted to be home, and I just felt like there was, stuff that I could do, and I had started Rural Cloth, and at that point in time, Rural Cloth's about a year old, and I really wanted to focus on, my company there from the apparel standpoint, and it was one of those things where I knew that if I was going to make rural work, that I had to go all in, and the only way for me to go all in was to walk away from the job that I'd had for so long, and I just felt like it was time.
When you mentioned Rural Cloth, why don't you talk a bit about how that came to be?
Okay, yeah, I mean. Yeah, rural is just one of those. Rural is something where I felt like I'd come in contact so much with so many people in the Western lifestyle, rural lifestyle, and I felt like they had 3 options, which were basically like Wrangler, Cinch, and Harriet, and I just didn't feel like some of those brands necessarily spoke to those people, and in a way where they made a really cool product that maybe wasn't super widely available, and it wasn't real retro, and in some case wasn't, great quality. And that was kind of where I, decided, in my brain, I just thought we could make a really cool, fun product in a brand that specifically spoke to this consumer. And I don't know, man, I just felt like I could do it. And I don't think I had any idea how hard it was going to be or how hard it is. Because if I known how hard it was, then I don't know that I would have pulled it off, or even I'm not saying I pulled it off. I'm not saying I don't know that I would have gotten this far. So
I got to go back to the retirement part. The announcers don't retire at 40 years old. Like a lot of guys are still going in their mid 70s. For some guys, like that had to be a huge challenge that way. Everybody just thought it was bullshit at the beginning, probably.
The truth, though, the real truth of why, and because, and I really, really try to live this way, man. Look, like we talked about this on the phone earlier today a little bit too. Like the one commodity and resource you cannot get back is time. I can make more money. I can build more shit. I can start more companies. I can have more kids. Hell, I can probably have kids if I don't go get a vasectomy until I'm 70. I can do anything like that kind of crazy stuff that I want. But the one thing, the one thing that I never, my child left the theater room on in there, so the super romantic. I'm going to turn that off real quick so it's not. But the one thing that you can't get back right is time. Like you just can't get that back. They don't make any more of it. And I don't say that I want to make it like as hard on myself as I possibly can, because I don't. But I want to find out what I'm made of. And the only way I was going to find out what I'm made of is if I leave the one thing that I'm super, super comfortable with to go start something else. And that was it. I mean, it wasn't that I retired, so to speak, from work, because I didn't retire from work, but I did everything that I wanted to do in PBR. And then I wanted to say, okay, I want to go start this and I want to try that. And if I fail and if I wind up homeless, so be it. But at least when I die, I won't have regret, because I can promise you that if you're lucky enough to live to be a certain age and you wind up in a nursing home, or you happen to be lucky enough to die at home and have your family surrounded, you're going to be forced with a true thought of like, do I have regret? Right? Like, is there regret? What did I not do that I really wanted to do? And even if you had a 99.9% chance of failing at it, but you tried it anyway. And I just don't want to live with regret. I don't when it comes down to those last moments, I don't want there to be regret.
Did was it just that, or like did the politics of, like you said, thinking of, some young kid coming in, taking your spot, and you're like, you know what, man, I don't want to deal with that shit anymore. Fuck it, I'm out of here.
Never had anything to do with that, because the arrogant side of me thought that I was probably the best ever. The true arrogant side of me, like when we talk about, if you're going to be somebody that's going to talk in front of 15 or 20,000 people a night, like there's a certain level of you that has to be cocky, right?
Yeah. And
I think I'd gotten to that point where I was 40, where there's a part of myself that I was drinking my own Kool-Aid, and I still think I drink that own Kool-Aid, where I genuinely believe I'm the best ever. And I know how narcissistic and ridiculous that sounds, but so no. But my answer to your question is no. I never left because I thought somebody was going to push me out, or no. I left because I wanted to be the absolute best there's ever been and leave on my terms.
Yeah. So, and will you ever go back?
No, I don't know. Maybe for fun. Oh, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I guess to some level, right? Because like the other day when somebody called me, Jess Lockwood called me when I was on my way to the PBR finals and said, hey, Clint just had a positive COVID test. He wound up having 2 negatives right after that. So he had a false positive, obviously. But, had a positive COVID test. We're going to need an announcer. And I text Sean and Richard Jones and said, hey, I heard you guys need a guy. If you need some help, let me know. I'll be there at 2:00. So, I mean, yeah, in a sense, like I'm never going to say never. And that's why I like going back to the PBR, like saying like, do they do everything perfect? No, but they know that. But do I have any ill will towards anybody there, or did I leave because of ill will? Absolutely not. I left on my terms and my terms only. It wasn't a pay dispute. It wasn't we're not hiring you enough dispute. It wasn't a contract dispute. It was just like, hey, I want to focus on business and I want to spend some time with my family, and that's why I'm leaving.
Were you supposed to come to Calgary this year? Was that in the books? I thought I heard something about that maybe.
We've talked. I don't know how public that is supposed to be necessarily, because I don't.
Oh,
Probably
spilled the beans.
I'll probably get in trouble. But no, I mean we've talked. We've had some. Keenan and I have had some conversations about Calgary, and he's kind of alluded to the fact that he would like to see if one day I could get there, or he could get me there, and what that means, or does he want to move anybody out? I have no idea. Does he want to bring in another voice for something? I have no idea. You know what I mean? So I don't know that it's necessarily to replace anybody, but we have had discussions about, yeah.
Okay. I just had to ask because I thought I heard some about
that's
that.
And that's kind of a bucket list event for me too. Like I would really like to come up there and, give it down.
Not in November. I'd just like to experience Canada, not in November.
Oh man, are they happy? Why'd you say not in November?
Because it sucks here.
Well, yeah, remember? Well, you came for the Global Cup, right?
Yeah, I came for the Global Cup, and I did TSN
finals
for the Canadian finals.
Oh yeah, or 7 back in the beginning of Calgary.
05.
Yeah, and for the Global Cup, it was cold.
That was when I had hair. I had hair too. I was on TSN, no cowboy hat. I had hair.
We got to go back to rural cloth a bit, Brandon. Talk about how that's gone for you so far. Where's that going? I read.
Where can we find it?
Yeah, but I read something about it that your plan is in 5 years to ideally sell it. And another thing I read was about goals with you. Big thing for you is you said you have a vision board and a few things down the road you want to accomplish, but goals and writing them down. I think that's a big part of stuff I do. I have these books that I write in all the time, and they always have goals in them. That's a big part of what you do too.
No doubt. I mean, I don't know where you read that, because I remember saying that not too long ago in some interview for somebody, but I can't remember who it was now that you bring it up. I think maybe we talked about it on the Matt West podcast or something like that when we were doing the interview with NFR. Man, like, if there's one thing that I had people that I could tell people, and they're like, okay, I want to do this. What do I do? Just go write it down. I know that seems like a trivial act. I can't explain why your subconscious will drive you in the direction that your subconscious will drive you, but I promise you it will drive you farther than you could ever imagine. There's some statistics out there I read in one of my planners or something that, just the act of writing it down makes it 30% more likely to happen. I mean, that's the one simple step. But let me prove to you how accurate that is. If you go back and read my English 4 teacher, my senior year of high school, they had us write down goals where we would be in 10 years. This was 1997, senior year, graduated in 97. And mine was that I would have announced the NFR or actually probably said PBR finals, or it probably said both, quite honestly, that I would be a career announcer. This was my senior year of high school. By the time 2007 happened, I had announced the PBR finals 5 times. Just from writing it down. I mean, not just from writing it down, right? I did the things that put the motion, but I'm just saying that the act of writing it down, like, it came true. Like, that visibly, physically came true. And man, like, I've just seen my subconscious drive thing. We didn't even talk about the other career that I had for 10 years while I was a PBR announcer. And one of the other big things that I wanted to do is I wanted to hunt. I wanted to be I don't want to call it a professional hunter, because damn sure isn't that. But I wanted to have a job hunting on television, on camera. I mean, I hosted a television show for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for 10 years on the Outdoor Channel. And we didn't even talk about that. That was all in the midst of being a PBR announcer. But that was a goal that I had as well, and happened to meet the right person at the right time, and knew the CEO of RMEF, and they needed a TV host. And I mean, it was just all kind of spun around. And, like, your subconscious will drive you to achieve things that you just never even realize, that just the simple act of you, like, focusing on it mentally. Yeah, I'm a huge, huge advocate for goals and writing it down, whatever they may be. And you may think it's simple and silly and dumb, but I can tell you right now that if you go write down that you want to be a millionaire, and you put it on paper and you focus on that mentally, I'd be willing to bet there's an 80% chance it happens.
You're not the only guy that said that either. Like Conor McGregor, who's everybody knows. He's the one who said, I talked myself into being a 2-time UFC or 2-belt holder UFC champion. He talked himself into that. He said when he started, people are like, what are you going to do? I'm going to be a world champion. No, you're not. Yes, I am. And he said that's what he told people. And then he did it until that's what he was.
Dude, whenever I was announcing those monster truck shows, I mean, I remember telling people, though, like, what do you do? Like, how do you like this job? I'm like, I hate it. This is a pit stop. I'm on my way to the PBR. Like, I mean, that was literally what, I was like, this is a gas station for me. Like, I was that vocal about it. And he's not wrong. I mean, there's, like, I'm just telling you, man, like, I will bet on the subconscious before I'll bet on anything else. So.
And you've also been an agent for probably this entire time too. I don't know when you started that, but with Prodigal out of OKC for a long time too. You're actually the guy that got. Was it? Sorry, go ahead.
November 2009.
Yeah, and you have like Lockwood's one of your guys too, and has been since the beginning, since he was in high school.
Yeah, found him in high school. Matt Triplett sent me a video of him, and I had seen somebody, and the moment I saw him, the moment I saw him, I thought, he's got the talent to be the greatest ever. Willie, I don't know. Hadn't met the kid yet. But when I saw him, instantly I knew that he had the talent to be the greatest of all time.
How much were his fines to wear his Stanley DeWalt stuff at the high school finals?
He didn't have any fines.
Didn't you have to get them to sponsor the finals? Or what was the story there? I thought there was something about he had to pay extra to get those on his at the finals.
No.
Okay.
I don't know where that rumor came from, but that never happened. No, the way that the Stanley DeWalt sponsorship for him came about is whenever I found him in high school, I called his mom and I said, "Hey, your kid's," and without saying it, I was like, "Hey, your kid's the reincarnation of Lane Frost. Probably the most talented athlete I've ever seen in my life." And I'll tell you that I did actually side screen Lane and him. And it is really eerie if you ever do it. Like if you go back and you look at a couple of Lane's rides and you look at Jess and you watch them side by side, it's really, really creepy to see what you see there. And no, I'm not some crazy theorist of reincarnation, but I'm just telling you that he's the closest thing I've seen to a talent level to that. And then I knew what the kid had, and whenever he, first turned 18 and started going to some PBRs, I called my main guy there at Stanley Black & Decker, and I said, "Hey, you got to budget $30,000. You don't have to pay him, but put $30,000 aside, and if he makes it on tour, then you pay him." And then he wound up being in the top 5 that year.
Yeah.
So,
dang, we could have so many more conversations about so many different things. We were talking earlier about who the greatest of all time is, and I don't know if you want to spend a minute on that or if we should wrap it up here quick. Or
no, I mean, yeah, I can spend a minute on that. I mean, yeah, man, look, I think JB had the opportunity to be the undisputed greatest of all time. He'll hate me for saying this, and a lot of fans will, but he's the one that squandered it. I mean, he could have been a 5, 6, 7-time world champ probably. I believe he had that type of talent, that ability. I think he had a really difficult time separating the fun life from the work life, and that's okay. Right? That's him, right? It's a matter of how you view what's important to somebody in the time frame that they're, because he may not trade any of those experiences for 5 or 6 more world titles, right? Like he might, I don't know. But I think if he's really, really honest with himself, and anybody that's really an advocate of his or an advocate of the sport and understands it and follows it as closely as I have for 18 years, they're really honest with themselves, it'll be challenging for them to say that JB didn't cost himself multiple world titles because he couldn't separate the fun life from the work life. So it's hard for me to not say that he's not likely maybe the greatest of all time. I think fundamentally, Jess will go down, when people look at it from what he's been able to do at 19, then 21 now, you know what I mean? He can win 3 by the time before he's done being 23. That's crazy. You know what I mean? Like when you look at it, but yeah, I mean, and when Jess wins his 3rd, there won't be a 4th. He's done. So he will retire after the third world title. We've talked about it many, many times. He has no desire to go on and try and be 5, 6, 7, world champs. He wants to win 3 and tie that record and do it at a very young age and let everybody argue about who's the best ever.
Wow. So how does that compare on the rodeo side of things, where you got a guy like Kimsey or Donnie Gay? If you're going overall, how do you compare them? I don't think we can compare Donnie, because it's such a different time. He might have won 8, but he flew a plane around to get to more rodeos to be able to get to more places and win more money, because that was what the system was. I don't know if he actually rode much better. I don't know.
I mean, look, in Donnie's time, Donnie was the greatest ever, right? In his time,
Yeah.
The rules are just different, right? Like someone can't make a legitimate argument to me and say Sage Kimsey's better than Jess Lockwood or Kaike Pacheco or Cooper Davis or JB Mooney or Justin McBride or, I can go on and I can keep going. And the reason they can is because, number one, Sage isn't competing on that level of bulls. He has done very well when he's had to. So that tells me that he has that type of talent and that ability. I'm not taking that away from him. But doing it consistently week in and week out. Because if you tell me that my job is harder because I have to travel more and I have to get on more bulls and I have to go to more rodeos, that doesn't make you better in my book. That makes you not as smart because you're doing it for less money. And look, I'm not against Sage Kimsey or what he's done. I just want people to put it in put that box in the right comparison and say, look, like Sage Kimsey is a rodeo god, and then there's the bull riding gods over here, and there's two. They live in 2 different universes, because they do live in 2 universes, completely different universes.
Yeah. Well, we super appreciate your time, Brandon. This has been awesome. We got one more question from Wasey over here. He's got one more to finish us off.
All right, something we ask every guest: what is your definition of cowboy shit?
Oh man,
the most important question, really.
What is your definition of cowboy shit? Man, my definition of cowboy shit is, I think it's probably, I think it's, like, that's a really hard question. Like when you're, getting up at 5 a.m. to go feed your animals and doing it in the pouring rain and it not mattering if they're, where it doesn't matter if you're hungry or you don't have any, if you don't have any food and you can't pay your bills, they come first and you got to take care of your farm and your ranch. And, that's one definition of it. I want to also compare it to, partying like crazy and running up and down the roads for an entire summer and, experiencing that whole Western lifestyle and rodeo life. I mean, that's one definition of it as well. And, when I compare it to hunting, like, hiking 7 or 8 miles up and gaining 2,500 feet of elevation and burning 1,500 calories, like, to me, that's another definition of it as well. I mean, I think anything that you take to the extreme and you disregard personal well-being, that is likely the definition of cowboy. Personal extreme disregard for personal well-being. Let's call it that.
Good. That's good.
Well, thanks for being here, James Wasey. And you can check out Rural Cloth, ruralcloth.com. Get your merch. Anything else you want to add, Brandon? Or we color good?
No, I mean, I'm going to get in trouble by my team because we didn't talk about Rural Cloth enough, but you guys should go check that out, ruralcloth.com. Maybe the next time we do this together, we'll talk about the clothing business.
Oh, yeah. If you want to get more
we'll get you when we do Calgary.
Okay.
Awesome.
Do one at the headquarters.
Yeah, do one at headquarters.
Okay.
Thanks, Brandon. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right, guys. See you guys.
Thanks, Brandon.
See ya. This is episode 79 of Cowboy Shit with Ted Stove and Wasey Anderson, James Foley. Thanks again to Brandon Bates for being on. This episode, we were trying to find a guest that was going to fit before the NFR, and then we ended up talking about basically
the PBR
nothing,
mostly.
Yeah, basically nothing to do with the NFR. So I guess off this part of the show, for those that are curious, and I mean, we try to make these shows so they're not super time sensitive. We do a little bit of current events, but with the way podcasts are listened to, we try not to go too far into events because we don't want a show to be not. We don't want show to be irrelevant as soon as it's, cold. So anyways, for the people that are curious about the NFR, we got like 5 Canadians going this year. Got Levi Simpson, Colton Schmidt, Oren Larson,
Zeke.
and Zeke Thurston. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and
Isn't Curtis Cassidy going too?
Yeah, there's 5. I said 5. So Cassidy. So we got 5 going. For those wondering, you can watch it on the Cowboy Channel app, cowboychannelplus.com in Canada. That's the only way. You can find another way, but you're probably going to get bad stuff on your computer. Probably get some.
You don't want it. I had that happen one time. Don't recommend.
Yeah, don't do it. Just unless you have an American dish, you can watch it on RFD or the Cowboy Channel. Otherwise, just get the app, pay the $75, watch it there, call it good. So that's a bit in our NFR chat. This
cheaper than a ticket.
Yeah, for this.
I have 2 NFR hot takes.
Okay, go ahead. I was going to move on. But
first one, Sage Kimsey's not going to win the world this year.
Ooh, really? Hot take. Who's going to be? Chase Doherty?
Boudreaux Campbell.
Yeah, that could be a thing. That could be
second hot take. Oren Larson's winning his first world title this year.
You think so? He's going to beat Tim O'Connell? Will they really?
I think he's going to.
A Canadian.
I think it's going to happen, man.
Win?
I think he's going to happen.
For the first time since 1933, could happen.
Man, I believe those are my 2 hot takes. Take him or leave him.
To see it happen. How about Zeke could tie Marty Woods with the 3rd gold buckle?
I wouldn't be surprised though if he won again.
I think he will in his career.
I think so, but like to me, like Zeke winning again isn't a surprise because like we know he can do it.
Yeah,
and like he's done it before. Whereas like if Oren wins, it's like wow, man, like he did it. That's badass. And not taken away from Zeke, I guess, but
Oren's already getting up there. If he were to win the world, he'd be he'd go down as one of the greatest or the greatest bareback rider ever from Canada in our lifetime. Oh, yeah. So I'd love to see it happen. I hope he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Hope he does it.
Yeah, me too.
In the team rep, we got Levi, Simpson, Colton Schmidt. They could show up and do some good work there. Again, Levi could be a 2-time world champ. I think
that'd be cool.
I don't know all the specifics with the NFR this year, but at one point it wasn't going to be the payout wasn't going to be the same. They're just competing for points. I don't know the whole story there yet. I mean, we probably should know some of that stuff, but I don't at this point. But anyways, Paul, you got any NFR hot takes?
No, I'm hoping I want to see Zeke win again.
Yeah.
But no, you know what, man? I haven't paid attention to fuck all rodeo.
Me neither.
That's legit though. Neither have I.
Not at all.
Like, I couldn't even tell you like anything because I haven't gave a shit all year. Yeah. I've just been like, there's no events up here. I ain't fucking paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's legit.
That's legit. Go team,
go sports.
Go sports.
Go team. Yeah, go team Canada.
Go team Canada.
First time I haven't been to the finals. Like in the last 10 years, since 2010, I've been every year since 2010.
Are you sad about that?
Partially, but partially not. Like I said earlier with Brandon, I'm excited to stay home and just be here.
Mm-hmm.
Be here for that time of the year. I just haven't done it in a long time. And
some Christmas season.
Yeah, be home, be able to watch it on TV like everybody else. I'm kind of looking forward to not having to be in Vegas for 2 weeks. That shit. I usually always got sick. Usually was always way too dehydrated. Got drunk a few nights down there. Like it was fun. It's a good time, but like I don't know if I'm gonna miss it that much. We'll see.
I probably won't watch any of it. That's another hot take.
Me either, but I bet you the atmosphere is gonna be pretty cool
at the
I think stadium. Like
yeah,
the PBR finals was a good indicator for it though. The PBR finals seemed to have a good atmosphere from what I saw.
Yeah.
The one thing about Texas, man, they love their rodeo. They love 3 things: freedom, fried chicken, rodeoing.
Yep.
That's Texas. And what a burger.
I gotta go into one story with Brandon. He talked about Bad to the Bone, how that was actually his idea, which I think is pretty neat. I didn't know that. Did you guys know that?
Didn't know that.
No.
So I was in New York City one time in 2015 for the PBR, and Mark Stevenson told me to bring my laptops down there just to go, I don't know, learn some stuff from him kind of thing and whatnot. So I'm sitting there like during the perf, like Friday and Saturday at Madison Square Garden. And then finally on like Sunday afternoon in the long round, Mark's like, all right, Ted, bring your stuff over. So I literally sat in the production booth the whole weekend waiting to like get a chance to maybe play some music and, learn some stuff. Like I just sat and listened the whole time and saw the production and, just try to like learn as much as I can, take it all in. And then Sunday afternoon, middle of the long round, he lets me jump in. Remember playing some different stuff there. I tried to like mark off what he was playing the whole time so I didn't double up on anything. And then I got to play Bad to the Bone for JB at MSG. And I remember I just had it like pinned at one point when it was JB's turn. Like I went in with the song and Bates was like, he was announcing. I don't know if he would remember it. I should have asked him. But I'm just like, just a guy showing up. I think he looked over and he's like, what the hell? And I remember Flint was like, holy shit, Millhouse. Like he was pretty pumped that I got to like rock some tunes there too. But I remember playing Bad to the Bone for JB and like might have made the system in MSG bleed a little bit because I had my levels up a little too high and it was a little loud when I first cranked it up for that first riff when the song started. It was kind of something I want to
go in a little spicy.
Yeah, something I won't ever forget. Those kind of
That's deadly.
Neat memory that, it's pretty awesome for Mark to give me that opportunity to, get on that stage, even if it was just for, to help me with being in those big moments and looking at the timing. And one thing I remember with Mark was the transitions. There was one point where Clint yelled over at Mark, like, man, nice transition. Because Mark played the music so smooth from one song to the other that I could I noticed it after Clint said it, but I could hardly tell the song changed. He had the beats lined up so well and he changed the song over that it was smooth to where that's something that I've aspired to since, is to make those transitions as smooth as I can to where people don't even realize I'm changing it on the in-betweens and changing the flow and keeping it as smooth as I can. So do you
think that's something that could go hand in hand with the announcer though? Like if the announcer has people captivated and stuff enough that they could the transitions go work together? Like if I transition with my voice into something new and then you kind of put the music under it.
Yeah, I have to. That's what separates the better music guys from the average one, is that we recognize and know that. And one thing Brandon mentioned about the NFR, and he would never do it with Benji, is I don't know. I had a conversation with Benji one time because he was playing the national anthem for some Canadian people. He'd play a little bit of the anthem, and I was like, man, Benji, I have a problem with that. I think that's disrespectful to our anthem to do that. And he said, well, Lee Graves told me he wanted me to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, that might be his choice, but I think it's disrespectful to just play part of our anthem. You're supposed to be standing up and have your hat off for the anthem. And you're going to play part of it at the rodeo, in the middle of the perf. I'm not going to play the Star Spangled Banner during a perf in Canada. Come on, man, that's fucking brutal. So I just, I realized Lee did that, but the thing with Benji is that he has to fit in so many certain spots with the NFR. There's no words hardly on any music. They got to fit them in or script them or whatever. Where Richard or Mark or Brad, those lyrics are an important part of the song. When the song's not natural, it's such an awkward transition to go into that music without some lyrics. Sometimes I think.
Music brings a whole other energy to the show, though, right?
Oh yeah. Well, whereas with the NFR and with Benji's work, I would probably tell him to his face, honestly. Might give me blackball, but I don't give a shit if I ever fucking do the NFR for music. I know it might be a goal for some folks, but I could give a fuck if I'm ever there for music. What Bates said, he said it's on his list still. He'd like to go on his terms. But I don't even know if I ever want to do it. I got some other stuff I want to do. I enjoy doing music in Canada. I love doing all the finals. I want to work the CFR. I want to work Calgary. But the NFR, it's not even really on my list as a music guy. I don't think I'd want to go and do it the way it's structured at this point either. So, I don't know. I don't know if I'd even get a chance to do it. I don't know if I want to. It's
what's one event that you want to do, Teddy?
Calgary, the Stampede in Calgary. That's a bucket list. That and Ponoka, Calgary, and the CFR for me for music. Those are some big ones that I want to do in Canada here. And I want to do I wish I could have got to do the Global Cup in Edmonton the year where they had it. I understand the top tour, Mark got to do it, which was unreal. He did an amazing job. I'm glad I got to watch it and be a part of that event that way. As a fan, basically, I was working, but it was, working for fuck all for money anyways. But those are a couple that I want to do music wise. But the NFR really isn't even on a list at this point. I'm kind of know where we got to go in Canada, but it might be a bad way. It might not look like I want to really get to that next level, but I want to really own things up here in Canada and do the best I can up here.
Music does add to the whole production so much. If somebody
it can make a mediocre rodeo a great rodeo by having a good...
and it puts a little cherry on moment. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Yeah.
When Brandon was talking about, when we were talking about the points, where I asked him, do you think, it's the whole energy. It's that song. It's how he comes in. It's how the crowd responds. But you know what I mean? If the duck song that you know comes on at it, you're like,
yeah, or the
fuck
fucking
is
hamster
this?
dance. Yeah, it's a huge
Yeah.
right? Like
Man,
that's
okay, sidebar quick. The chicken dance gets way more flack than deserved. Like, if you don't
What do
play
you
that
mean?
at your wedding, I'm pissed off with it. And people are like, oh, I'm going to have a wedding and I'm never going to let them play the chicken dance. Fuck that. Yeah, well, you know what? Fuck you. It's fun.
what Brandon was talking about, what Bates was talking about with the like with him and Mark being on the same page. That's something that Brett Gardner and I strive to do up here. Is that we want to know where we're going. Sometimes we have to talk about it first, like, and mark off a few. Like, we'll start the program with like, you know, when we got Dakota up, or we got Brock or Lonnie at these big events, and the titles on the line. We got to have we actually set aside different parts, and we mark out these different guys where we got to build this. We got to make it dramatic. Like, we got to add to it. We're like, at some rodeos, a guy can just go in and an announcer can just go in and say, oh, next we're going to go down to Dakota Butter. And it can be, you know, everything can be on the line and they don't even acknowledge it. It's just like, they're just saying the names and scores. Like, that's, you can be an announcer and say the names and scores and have a nice voice. But the next level is that entertainment part of it where it's, you know, we're making it a dramatic piece of entertainment, right?
Which builds
100%.
tension and stuff like that too, which makes it even more
Big part of
memorable. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
the NFR, I think, does a shitty job of it, and I'm not going to miss it this year.
Yeah.
On to the next
That's
one. What do you
right.
guys got to finish the show up?
I want to talk about activities I shouldn't allow people to wear jeans.
This is dear to your heart, Lacey.
But no, man, it bothers me so much. Like, especially like coming from like being like a cowboy and Western
Hey,
background.
Wasey, how many times have you said like on this show so far?
I don't know, man. Whatever. You're coming from the guy who wears jeans to work out.
We were watching TV and it was just like, it just happened, and I don't give a shit.
But even like people golfing in jeans or like lounging in jeans, you're just defending yourself because you wear jeans all the time. I get it. We get it, Teddy. You're sponsored by Wrangler. Real sick. But wear some fucking sweatpants once in a while.
I got a good story.
I wore sweatpants for the entire day the other day. It was
probably Wrangler sweatpants.
Pretty awesome. No, they were Lululemons. They were awesome.
Ooh, brand drop Lululemon. Get at us if you want to be part of Cowboy shit.
Yeah, look us up. Canadian brand.
So now, Lacey, I totally get where you're coming from, but I think like there's the Cowboys who feel like if they don't wear
Wranglers, cowboy hat, cowboy shirt, I'm not a cowboy.
I'm not
Fuck
a cowboy.
That.
So we were going to Falaire PBR, right? I get up at 7 a.m, load bulls, drive to Falaire. I get home at Sunday morning at 8 a.m. So it's 25 hours. On the way there, I'm like, I'm wearing shorts and a shirt. It's plus fucking 25 out. I don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. Pulling bulls in the stock trailer. I pick up Derek Adams, who's a judge, gets in my truck, looks at me. The first thing he says is, back in my day, you never look like that. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck, Derek.
I'm comfy as shit.
I'm driving the truck. I'm going to be home 8 tomorrow morning. So we get to the bull riding. I unloaded bulls in my shorts. Nansen looked at me and was like, what the hell are you doing? I didn't give a shit. Unloaded bulls, hung around in my shorts. And before the perf, I put jeans on and a shirt. And I'm like, it's plus 26 out. I'm not here to prove anything to anybody.
I understand the whole, you got to be in Western attire an hour before and whatever of the perf, but when it comes to traveling and stuff, I'm on board with you fully. I'm traveling on the road, driving hours and hours. I'm not going to sit in my fucking starch jeans and starch shirt. Yeah. I'm driving from Calgary, Alberta to fucking Beausejour, Manitoba. Fuck that. Or 100%. And like you said, people feel like they got to be wearing this, that, and the other. But they'll show up to the rodeo wearing Wranglers and fucking sneakers. Where's your cowboy boots, man?
Mm-hmm.
And it's about being comfy. Whatever makes it goes back to the cowboy hat. You know what I mean? Dude, there's people who get pissed off at Jesse Byrne and Shorty Gorham not wearing cowboy hats while they're fighting bulls. You know what? If those guys are the rankest fucking bullfighters you'll ever see in your life. if they don't want to wear a cowboy hat, then they shouldn't have to. It's 2020.
Well,
you know what I mean?
you guys mentioned that, and like being at all these Western stores lately, doing the sales stuff, like even for our cowboy shit hats, we're all wearing all caps right now. Like fully, you could wear a cowboy hat potentially, but it would almost feel out of place now on what we're up to, and like we're not. But even the Western stores. What my point was though is that there's not a lot of Western stores selling a lot of great hats anymore. Like there's a ton of there's a few that have a lot of great hats, but a lot of them don't have anything much because they're so expensive to carry, and they're such a custom piece. It's tough to fit everyone now. You got all the different sizes, and then you got to shape it right. Like it's
anybody in our circle is buying our hats like custom.
Yeah, they have.
We're not going to Lamley's and buying a hat from the store, which is impossible.
We just can't. I can't fit one off the shelf anymore, right? Like I've got a specific taste that I've acquired over the last 15 years.
I think a lot of my like anger in this is rooted from living with Ted for 3 years, just watching him lounge around in jeans. Like for whatever reason, that just bothers the shit out of me. Like honestly, like how can you sit on your couch in a comfy chair, comfy couch, and be wearing fucking jeans?
Because they got stretching.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I can't wrap my head around it.
It's a personal thing, I guess, Wasey. I could just say that you should have better stuff to worry about than you wearing jeans.
I've had it up to here with your jeans.
Fuck those jeans, man.
I've had fucking enough. But there's guys golfing at the golf tournament wearing jeans, and I was like,
fuck that. Honestly, dude, I'm passionate about this. Fuck that. Put some golf pants on, you scrub.
I have my Wrangler golf pants on. Khakis.
That's better than fucking jeans.
Yeah, everybody has their own opinion though, and it's like like if it's like me seeing Jess Lockwood in a pair of sweats and going, "Holy fuck, you're not that cowboy wearing not as cowboy as I thought you were." Man, the guy's one of the rankest fucking bull riders ever. If he wants to wear sweats and Nike shoes, who gives a shit?
So be it.
You don't have to live the way that
people try to define like your amount of cowboy by the way you dress, and I mean you got to present yourself in a certain way, I think, but it's more to me. It's more so your actions and stuff you do rather than what you're wearing. 100%. Like if I'm at home, like say I'm at like back when I was younger, if I'm at home working for my dad, going out moving cows, I'm wearing a ball cap. Like, does that make me any less cowboy than Buddy who fucking is wearing a cowboy hat beside me? Like, no. Like I'm just as handy or more handy than you are. You fucking loser.
You fucking loser. Thanks for helping.
Now it's getting serious.
I don't know. Guys, a lot of that stuff is like, it bothers me a lot. Whatever.
But it's the way it is now. Like everybody has everybody has their own expectations of what something should be. And like I said, I've taken flack for having the beard and hey, when are you going to get rid of the beard?
It's deadly, man.
When you start minding your own business and don't give a shit about it, then I might get rid of it. But for right now, I'm rocking the beard. You know what I mean? It may fluctuate in size. It may be Ted's size here one day. And you never know. But right now, I'm rocking it. I got to get it cleaned up. Me and Ruby got Christmas pictures coming up. So
the message from this to take away from this conversation, or like what I brought up, is don't work out in jeans and don't golf in jeans. Please stop.
Please stop. The world needs to stop.
You're not fooling anybody. But honestly, it would do a lot of cowboys some good to put a pair of shorts on.
Got a lot of problems with a lot of people.
Yeah,
there'd be a lot. There'd be some seriously white legs.
Oh, yikes!
Whitest legs you guys saw this past year. I'll start. Roland McFadden on the golf course, Mickelson National with Jeff Robson. Whitest legs I've seen maybe ever. Was like could have held a sheet of paper next to him, and the sheet of paper would have lost the whiteness test. It was a little weird.
Mine was Mike Holmes when I went boating with Woody. And he had the craziest farmer tan. Like that body had not seen sunlight.
Oh dear,
in a long time,
in years.
I do got to say, this was one of the first years where I got the tan that went past the end of the hand.
The old hand tan.
Sleeves. Like I actually got it up. I actually got a farmer tan because I was able to not have long sleeves on all the time. It's kind of nice.
That's you. My old man, my dad has by fucking August, if you see him in a pair of shorts, you put on sunglasses to look at his knees, not the sun.
I don't think I've seen my dad wear a pair of shorts in my whole life.
Yeah,
really?
My dad was the same. I don't
probably. Yeah, like mostly. I don't think I've ever seen him wear a pair of shorts.
I saw.
Oh, he's got white ass legs.
It's either sweatpants. It's either sweatpants or jeans. Like there's no in between. And like fucking red sweatpants. Like not just like a regular pair. So he's wearing red sweatpants. Weird.
Guys,
You should write a song called "Wall" about white ass legs.
That's funny.
I think we better
classic.
I think we got to wrap it up, guys. You done? I've had enough podcasting for today.
Yeah, I want to play some video games.
Okay.
Video games.
Video games?
Vigi?
Get that damn ball off them video games.
All right, guys. Well, this is all. Thanks to our guest this week, Brandon Bates, for being on the show. Rural Cloth again. Check it out, ruralcloth.com.
Whoa, wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. Hold up 1 minute before you shut her down. It's almost Christmas. Get your cowboy shit gear.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Get ordering that stuff. If you want it by Christmas time, order it now. Don't wait. Cowboyshit.ca.
Or
check out our Instagram.
And get it in your local stores. All the stores listed at cowboyshit.ca. Check it out. Get your merch. We got a new hat. This one's actually blue and silver.
If you have any questions, shoot us a DM.
What's it called?
Yeah,
what's that hat called?
Wasey and I we're sporting some new ones that we're bringing out next year. This is a navy blue wool with some silver lettering. Wasey's got the golf hat. He's got the little liney thing on the front.
Little rope.
Navigator.
The black cowboy shit golf line.
Yeah, so that's like I've got a couple of those ones. That's like the black gold. So one's got to be Leduc, but I got like 3 versions. So it's got to be like got to figure that out yet. But then Foley's got the white horse on. That's the gray and white.
It's my go-to.
It's a good one.
Yeah, so, don't hesitate. Get your shit. Like if you check out cowboyshit.ca, at cowboyshit officials our social media DMs. You can personally DM us on Instagram or any like social media if you want to have any questions or anything.
If your boyfriend's missing that something special, it's probably because he doesn't have a cowboy shit hat on.
But even your girlfriend, man.
100%. If she's missing that little, you know what I mean?
If she wants to look sexy pulling that 3D check at the barrel race, get her one of these.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks again to James Foley for being on the show this week. Guest co-host, my usual co-host, Wasey Anderson, been in this for 79 shows now. Again, this is Cowboy Shit.
GG.
Ted, Wasey, and James. Thanks for listening.